Hi, post-editing Matt here. I accidentally deleted a video that was very important to the intro of this video, talking about how I had COVID, so the audio might sound a little bit weird because I recorded this when I was recovering. It's all stupid. Enjoy the 5 seconds that I had left of live action footage recovered, and yeah, I got nothing. Bye. I'm stupid. Bye. Happy 2023. Can't wait to get this started. Let's talk about some games that I played in fucking 2022. Ready? Now listen here, because I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Video games are kind of rad. And the year 2022 had video games, which, may I remind you, are pretty rad. All joking aside, over the last few years on Twitter, I've often spoken about the games I've enjoyed over the years that have passed, but I've never been able to actually make a video or anything on that nature because, let's be honest, and I don't play a lot of games. At least not in the years they initially come out in, but in the year 2022, that was a big ol' exception. And like 2021, but like, you know, just not gonna worry about that part. In 2022, I played a ton of games that were released in that year, and I feel like I could finally make a pretty good video talking about the games that I did play. Yeah, plus, I want to have more than like 3 videos a year, so, you know, I gotta jump on that. I swear to God, the Star Ocean video is like coming out soon. I promise, send out. So with that said, let's just kind of talk about how I plan on ranking everything that I've chosen for this list. So first and kind of fucking obviously, but I feel like I have to say this, this is not a definitive list. I can understand your confusion if you do think it is, because my opinions are just so insanely based that I never have been wrong about a video game opinion ever. But these are the games that I just feel like really rocked my socks off when I played them this year. And the second rule is that there are no rules, so get ready for an absolute shit show of a video that I'm sure will piss many people off. And with that said, let's talk about the games I enjoyed a ton in 2022, but first, let's start off with some honorable mentions. I feel like putting them in the beginning is a lot easier. Honorable mentions, number 5, KOF 15 and DNF Duel. Not too much to talk about here, but goddamn was it cool to see 2 fighting games come out this year, and with rollback netcode, some which were good and some which were not great. I've only recently gotten into KOF 15, but I've been enjoying the heck out of what I've played. However, while it is cool that King of Fighters finally got rollback netcode, it's like I said, it's not that great, but hopefully that's going to be fixed with the whole big crossplay update coming later on in 2023, and you know, we'll fix some of the matchmaking shit that a lot of people have been you know, coming into contact with. Yeah, that's all I got really much to say about KOF, and yeah. Speaking of fighting games, holy shit, Arxis. It took you forever to release that DNF Duel update. Holy hell, but it's still a fun game. I liked it a lot. I played Crusader, so my mind go burr. Number 4 is going to be Tunic. I like Tunic. I think the game's cute, and its little nature and designs really blend well with the combat system and the world exploration. And the mystery behind the language not being in English and you picking up certain clues and stuff is super intriguing, and it really makes you want to investigate more, and I just can't wait to uncover about everything that's happening in the game. However, with that being said, Tunic is a game that never really pulls me back in to play it. I'll be honest in saying that I only played about 2 or 3 hours to see if this was Game of the Year contender, and I felt like there was something there, but I kind of had to force myself to go back and try playing it again when the other games I'm going to be putting on the list never really had that impact on me. But this is a game that I really enjoyed, and I'm sure once I actually get around to finishing it, I'll probably change my mind, but it's a cute game. I like it. It's a lot of fun. I'll go back and finish it up soon, I promise. Number 3 is Valkyrie Elysium. This is a game that I genuinely enjoyed. To a certain extent, the Valkyrie series is one that I know a ton of old-school JRPG fans were wanting to see come back in some form of fashion. And honestly, I think this was one of the right ideas. Switching to a now 3D action RPG seems to be the direction that most Square Enix games tend to go in nowadays. And for a game series whose focus tend to be on gathering up different party members for your party to fight against, you know, whatever evil entity you're going to be fighting, Elysium does have a solid foundation. However, this is also a game that doesn't feel like the best to play at some points. Some of my main criticisms of the game were to do with the movement and constrained battle system. While combat does feel good, I feel like it could be a lot better. But it is a stepping stone in the right direction, and I hope that in the future they kind of decide to just build this better, because I don't want to see the series go away. It had a lot of good ideas. It just couldn't really get to the level that I wanted it to, and I would just kind of hate it if they just, you know, shot the game series away. Valkyrie's beloved, and I really want to see a return of it. I just hope that you know, other things to do with Square Enix isn't killing it. Good God, that company's in trouble right now. Number 2 is Pokemon Legends Arceus. I think this is an amazing blueprint for how my perfect Pokemon game would go. It'd take place in a segmented, open-esque world with plenty of Pokemon to catch and areas to explore. Being able to run around and just catch Pokemon is everything I've ever wanted to do in a Pokemon game. And even the Pokemon battles themselves were great fun. I also can't believe just how fun, like, the boss fights were as well. Like, at some points, it felt like I was playing a goddamn Falcom RPG. Like, it was kind of insane. I truly hope that this is just, like, a really good solid idea for a potential second entry in a series, even though I know there's like not a whole lot they could probably do with it. I want more Pokemon games like that, and if Game Freak is able to push through on the environments and the areas to explore, I think it could work. But based on the recent stuff, look, we'll get to it a little bit later, I promise. But this was still a solid start to the year. Oh my god, I literally cannot believe this came out in 2022. Like, that completely missed the mark when I was making this list, and I'm happy I went back, because this game is just so goddamn good. I cannot believe how good it is. Number 1 is Metal Hellsinger. Bro, it's a fucking rhythm-based first-person action game where you play as a badass protagonist to the sounds of multiple heavy metal musicians coming together to make one of the best video game soundtracks I've ever heard. And when mechanics like a multiplier, also building the amount of parts that you hear in the song, it is so insanely based. You have no idea how much I popped off when I hit that 8 or 16 times multiplier and the vocals kicked in, and I just fucking rip and tear at everything in my sight. This game is a goddamn rush. Like, this is exactly how I felt playing Crypto the Necrodancer for the first time, except this time I'm like fighting demons with like a fucking shotgun and a sword. It's just Doom, Crypto the Necrodancer, and I fucking love it. Oh my god. Alright, well, those honorable mentions out of the way, let's get to the games that I think deserve the top 10 spot of the year. Now, while I did my best to play as much as I could, please do be mindful that I didn't play every game that came out this year, or last year, I guess. Games like Horizon and God of War Ragnarok won't be making their appearances, as not only have I not played them yet, I haven't even finished their first games, so, you know, that's a thing. I'd probably change my mind once I did eventually start playing these, but it's not gonna cut it for today's video, because I want this video to come out in the year 2023 at some point, god dang. Anyway, let's dive into my top 10 games of the year, starting with number 10. Fucking, is that how you do the number 10 stuff? I don't know. I don't fucking know how to make videos anymore, man. Okay, look, I know this game kind of has its issues, and I am one who is not shy to point and gawk and make fun of them. And while I have been lucky enough not to come across any major game-breaking stuff, I have been noticing the smaller things in life which are very hard to ignore. Especially since my job is being an FQA game tester, this is something that, like, baffles me that they even considered releasing. But with that being said, there's also the sick part of me that has been loving this adventure because of it. It's like I'm playing an alpha or a beta version of the game that just hasn't had their final push yet, and it's been fucking great. It makes me laugh every time I see a hilarious clip on Twitter or watching friends play through Discord, which is so disheartening because under the flaws lies a truly spectacular Pokemon game. This is the most amount of fun I've ever had with a Pokemon game since I played, well, Legends Arceus, but we all know the answer is Gen 5. Both games managed to do what I've wanted a Pokemon game to do for a very long time. Just give me a world that I'm allowed to explore at my own pace, and let me just like catch Pokemon and shit. There are moments where I'll be running around exploring for like hours on end, and then only after that will I go, well, that's enough of that, let's go do a gym battle or something. And I think the way the game handles its progression is also done very well, making areas of the world very obvious starting points where a trainer should start out on, but then give them the means to explore around said area, and you know, let them go to the really high level stuff because they can find some really good items or something. There's just so much that fills this world as well. We got our classic gym battles that let us collect badges and stuff and become the champion of the region, but now we also got these colossal Titan Pokemon that are part of Arven's story. And speaking of him, oh my god, they cannot just drop the story of him. Like, my heart wasn't ready. Why is a Pokemon game making me cry? And of course we have the Team Star battles, which are also just a ton of fun. Performing these tiny raids before fighting the main boss of a camp is just a small thing that gives me that little bit more of excitement when I am playing through a Pokemon game. I'm pretty sure though that's just due to the fact that this song is such a goddamn bop, which could be said about the rest of the soundtrack as well. Like, who the fuck decided it was okay to have tracks to slap this hard? It's not, but I'm so glad that you did. This is also the first Pokemon game that has really made me care about trying to collect every Pokemon that I see, which I have seen as a major compliment that everybody kind of agrees on this game, which is great. Honestly, the only downside to this game is held back by the Switch hardware and all the issues you've been seeing. This game is what I want Pokemon to try and be in the future, but I'm hoping that it's a future that we can do on a console that's, you know, not 8 years old. It's a damn good Pokemon game and a showcase for what's to come, and I for one cannot wait to see the future of Pokemon after seeing all this. I'm so excited, like, god dang. Look, I know this one might be cheating since it's a remake of a PSP game that I may or may not have gone on record saying is one of my favorite games of all time. A bold claim, I know, but hear me out. You see this stupid hunk? I love him. He's so stupid and pretty and kind and it says the line,
Me? Gungaga.
and if anything happens to him, I will kill everyone in this room and then myself. And I still think the story of Crisis Core is an intriguing one that may take some time to get to the meat of, but when it does, oh my god, it gives Final Fantasy VII fans some major insight onto characters that they already kinda knew, but never knew the full picture of. But there is one major flaw with the PSP game. It plays like ass. Now look, I can go back and play it, mainly due to the fact that I've probably played the original version so many times, I've honestly lost count, but I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It sucks. It doesn't feel good to play. Movement feels clunky and makes me want to go home. But that's where the number 9 spot comes in, as Square has heard our prayers and gave Crisis Core the freshest coat of paint we could have ever asked for. Not only do we get our favorite PSP experience now with stunning HD graphics and visuals, but the gameplay has been entirely reworked with the old system still in mind, and it is fucking great. Some of my favorite moments have been visiting the areas that Remake has yet to get to and giving myself an idea as to what the area is going to look like whenever we get to Rebirth. But while the game looks good, one more addition to this new version that's been added is the new voice actors. They've all been changed to match their new Remake voice actors, and for the most part I think all the new voice actors and actresses do a swell job on their parts, especially working with a script like Crisis Core. And look, is Zach's new VA the best? No, I've been critical of it as well, but I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing ever. Sometimes when he really hits the nail on the head with his deliveries, it really does work. And since Zach at the start of the game is a naive soldier member with ambitions and dreams, his snarky accent kind of fits him well. And then you hear him in some other scenes and it just doesn't, like, work. But that's all I'll say. I don't want to harm the guys too much. They all did a fantastic job. Now we get to talk about the best part of the game, which is the gameplay. Cause oh my god, what happened? It's finally occurring. Crisis Core is playable. The newly revamped gameplay style is absolutely not only a welcome change, but does a lot more than what was originally shown off. The ability to just have access to your magics and skills at the click of a shortcut button does so much to relieve the player from having to go through menus and pray they didn't click the wrong one too many times. And since attacks are just mapped to one button and have actual combos now, it is a breath of fresh air. They even made DMVs good. Like, I didn't think that was possible. Alright, like, I don't want to ramble on too long, but, you know, this game did so much right, and it's made one of my favorite games of all time playable and a much easier version of the game to get into. It's almost everything I wanted in a Crisis Core remake, but I put it this low on the list for that reason alone. It is a remake of a game I already know very well. Otherwise, I would have put it a little bit higher if I really wanted to. But it's an excellent remake of a game that I cannot wait to replay again and again. I highly recommend you guys check it out if you've never played Crisis Core before. It's so much better than playing the original, trust me. Jeez, 2022 was really just the year for me, huh? As we saw the 6th entry of a long-running JRPG franchise, Star Ocean: The Divine Force, come out, and oh boy did it take me by fucking surprise. Now, for those unaware, I am a huge Star Ocean fan, and I plan on doing a long-form retrospective next year, or this year, on the entire series. So a newer entry was basically perfect for me, and since I'll be covering this in a retrospective, I don't want to talk about it too much, but I will say this. God dang, this was a good game. Now look, yes, it still has all the same issues that most Star Ocean games have. The story is fine, it's certainly better than the one that came out before it, but it's still nothing crazy and out there. And for a game that's all about space, you really don't go there too much. But my god, the battle system and the characters alone made me love this game a lot more than I probably should. While I wish Star Ocean would just try to adopt the traditional styled action RPG standards that other games have done now, or even what Star Ocean 4 tried to do, I think the way they designed the new game's battle system is very interesting. It seems like they wanted to stick to the style of the previous Star Oceans, like 3 and 5, but add their own flair. The closest thing I can relate this to is Tales of Berseria's battle system, where each attack is linked to a special art rather than your standard light and heavy attacks. And you can link them together in a chain if you have enough battle points, or BP as the game calls it. I think this battle system works, but I'm not a fan of how you have to gain BP points throughout fights. This just makes it really hard on the player if you take too many hits during a fight and you're basically just smacking a boss with one attack over and over again because your meter has been depleted. Yeah, I think having a set amount and being able to build upon that would have been a much better choice, or do what Tales of Grace Zeph did with its art meter. But I still think there is a deeper dive that you could do with the battle system. I'm still finding new things every time I go back and play it. It just requires a little bit of work. Overall though, I think this was just a real solid experience and definitely a breath of fresh air to the series that I loved so much. And a side note, I know Tri-Ace was basically saying that they were hoping that this game does well so they can go on to make more RPGs, whether they be Star Ocean or whatever. And I just want to say that if you like goofy sci-fi stuff, this is a solid RPG that I think would be right up your alley. It certainly was up mine, and I don't want to see this company go anywhere. They made some of my favorite RPGs in the past, and I just hope that Star Ocean does okay, and I hope that Tri-Ace is able to make more games. Go support him if you can. My god, was this game such a goddamn blast. Growing up in the late 90s and early 2000s, side-scrolling beat-em-ups were my jam. The amount of quarters I spent in the Simpsons arcade game might be a bit more than I'm willing to admit, but I've always enjoyed what the genre does. It just gives you a character and you're allowed to beat the shit out of whatever is on screen. And now that the genre seems to be on such a resurgence with the huge succession of River City Girls and the like, there was one question that I think everyone kind of had in mind. So when's the next TMNT game that's like Turtles in Time coming out? Oh, well, perfect. Look at that. God, I cannot tell you how much fun I had with this game. This game was just everything being thrown at the wall and it just sticking every step of the way. With its huge cast, of which I only played April because she has the fucking spinning bird kick, how could I not? Its bombastic levels and boss fights, and oh my god, that musical score that oozes into my ears every time I play the game. The fact that this game did not even get a slight nomination at the Game Awards is very cringe, by the way. Shredder's Revenge just feels like a love letter to the game that everyone loved to play in the arcades and on their Super Nintendo at home, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It's also a rather big game as well, which really took me by surprise. There's not much I can really say about it because a lot of the joy is just picking up the game and playing for yourself and having a big old blast. You know, now that I think about it, I probably should have played this game with friends. Oh, well, what can you do? Oh, actually, wait, I did forget to say something. Mutants Over Broadway is a slapper, and that alone is, like, played 100 times on my Spotify playlist. Oh, it is so good. Go off, King. Me liking when the screen go whoosh and all flashy and I just start completely obliterating things and everything just feels so good and tight, and I'm genuinely starting to think this is what a gambling addiction feels like. Someone, please, for the love of God, take this game away from me. Why does the soundtrack slap so hard? I haven't stopped playing since it released. Send help. A lot of people are probably really surprised to see the funny game where a man named Jack wants to punch the shit out of chaos is on the list, to which I can kind of completely understand. But hear me out. This game is stupid. This game is dumb. This game has such a stupid plot that halfway through you start to wonder if you've actually been experiencing a goddamn fever dream the whole time. This game is a Final Fantasy game with the people behind Neo going, what if we made Final Fantasy Dark Souls inspired action RPGs with Neo's mechanics and a job system that is not only overwhelming, but with a gear system that makes my OCD have a fucking panic attack. Everything is super serious, and we just let the main characters be hot and say all the curse words. And by God, does it fucking work. Like, I cannot express how much fun I had playing this goddamn video game. At its core, yeah, it just feels like Final Fantasy Neo, and I mean that in both the best and the worst way possible. Some of the dungeon designs can be a bit bad, but with every dungeon also being an homage to prior Final Fantasy games, it's kind of hard for me to really hate it. Like, yes, I hated traversing through the stupid fucking Mount Gegazet thing, but at the same time, hearing some classical music pieces we've known for over the years in a dungeon that's an homage to the same game, it just feels nice. But the real joy of the game comes from its gameplay, in my honest opinion, and I had a ton of fun with it. While I don't think it's perfect, I like what the finished product brings. There are certain moments where the game makes sure you use classes that have specific advantages over some of the enemies and bosses you'll be fighting, which is a nice change of pace, you know, from me rapidly beating my head across the wall hoping the same strat will just work eventually. Who am I kidding? I fucking did that anyways. But overall, yeah, this game was just too much fun for me to ignore, and considering how everyone was kind of clowning on this game until it released, I'm glad that I enjoyed it so much. And before you ask, no, I haven't touched the DLC, and I probably intend to keep it that way. It's fucking Elden Ring. Wait a minute, Matt. You put Elden Ring at number 4? Weren't you saying on Twitter how it was one of the best games you've played all year? What game would even beat Elden Ring to be put in your top 3? Well, about that. Okay, look, I know Sonic Frontiers has a ton of pop-in issues with assets just popping in and out of the world. I know the level design can be very hit and miss for a lot of people. I know that this is not a perfect 3D open world platformer. I hated the stat building system and how most of it was just totally not needed, or else you'd just be powering yourself through an already kind of easy adventure. Some of the mini bosses you fight in the open world segments weren't fun in the slightest. I also managed to break the game so goddamn hard that I think I made a new game in the process. All these flaws, all these problems, all of these negatives don't matter. And you know why? Because Sonic Frontiers is fun. Like, it's really fun. Running through these big open world zones and finding all the secrets and mission points just feels so relaxing and cathartic to me. Being able to just hop into a mini boss fight as they're just out there in the open world fills that Xenoblade part of my brain that constantly needs refilling, especially when the music hits. To be honest, the main reason I probably love this game so much is the combat. Perhaps the thing that I was worried about the most going into Sonic Frontiers ended up being one of my favorite parts of the game. Being able to learn different combos with the different skills you unlock was super fun. Running around and just beating the shit out of whatever was in sight is always a blast. Seeing the characters interact and have actual meaningful dialogue with each other is such a breath of fresh air, and you can clearly tell that Ian Flynn took time and effort to do the most that he could in the hours he'll be pouring into the game. For God's sakes, this game made me like Amy as a character, which like the video games have never been able to achieve. And dude, some of the Cyberscape levels are such a blast to go through. Like, yeah, 1-2 is a pain in the ass, but once you figure out Sonic Frontier systems, it's not all that bad. But as you go through the game and start mastering Sonic's movements, the challenge stops becoming how do I get through the section, and instead it becomes, okay, how do I beat this as fast as humanly possible with the knowledge that I have, which I can only give credit to the developers for letting people just go crazy with the speed tech. There is a lot more I can go into, but for the sake of making this video a little less longer than it needs to be, I'm just gonna say, goddamn, Sonic Frontiers was so good, and I'm so happy that I loved it as much as I did. Oh, so sweet, Jesus, the boss tracks, like, how did they get away with putting metalcore into a Sonic game? It's like, it's the thing I never knew I needed, but I'm now glad I know it exists. And face your fears, break through it all, oh my fucking god, I lost my goddamn mind. What, Sonic Frontiers is so fucking good. Good lord.
It's time to face your fears when your time has come and gone. I'll be the one to carry on, and you can throw me to the wolves, 'cause I am undefeatable. I'm hanging on to the other side.
Okay, look, I know Amori came out on December 25th in 2020. But see, that was its release on Steam, and for consoles, it was released very early into the year 2022. And I played this game for the first time on the Nintendo Switch. So technically, this is a 2022 game. Look, let me get away with this. It's probably going to be months before I even get to talk about this game again, okay? Just let me have this one. Okay, so if you follow me on Twitter, you may know that around the fall season of 2022, I finally gave this little indie darling my first playthrough. Really, as much as I heard nothing but good things online, there were two reasons that made me really want to play the game. One was Nitrorad's video, because it immediately seemed like his kind of game, and seeing that video length, I knew it had to be good. And the second reason I got it was actually thanks to my uncle. He recently played the game and marked it as one of his favorite indie games that he has played, and possibly one of the best stories he'd ever seen in gaming. So for my birthday, I treated myself and bought the game on Nintendo Switch, and yeah, this game is perfect. I don't want to go into too much detail about the game since I do plan on covering the game in the future, but man, when I say this whole game captivated me from beginning to end, that is just no lie. This is one of the most ambitious stories I've ever seen told, and it's in a game that from the outside looking in just looks like one of those Earthbound-inspired indie RPGs, which, don't get me wrong, there are obvious influences of that, but they never outstay their welcome. Yeah, I know a few people who think this game might not be their cup of tea, and honestly, I wasn't sure what to think of it when I first started either, but the minute you cross the first threshold after the tutorial area, this game grabs you emotionally and physically, and before you know it, you're in for the long run. Which is also helped by its amazing combat system as well. While being a traditional turn-based RPG, Omori has more emotion added to it. No, like literally, there is an emotion mechanic, which doesn't seem like it adds much at first, but the more you experiment and understand how to influence emotions to help with certain battles, it becomes a joy to work with. And its characters, oh my god, I love all of these adorable idiots, Aubrey and Kel especially. Hero's a great dude too, I love all of them. And all the wacky people you meet along the way just brings up the energy and vibes to your journey. I can't express enough how much I love this game, and like I said, I will make a full video on it in the future, so my thoughts are all jumbled up here. But mark my words, you will not be disappointed with Omori. It's a game that will be playing tricks on your mind from the moment you hit new game to seeing the final screen of the journey. God, I just really loved Omori, man. Play it, just play it. Sometimes there's a game that will come out and it will just hit you in every possible way. Its story, its music, its characters, its gameplay hits all the right spots. Sometimes that comes in the form of a game you haven't tried yet, or maybe it's one that you've been told to play countless times but just haven't gotten the chance to do so yet. Or sometimes it's a brand new game that will come out and blow everyone away, yourself included. But sometimes a new entry in a franchise you adore will come into the light and make you completely rethink about what you claim as your favorite in the franchise. Is that specific? Maybe, but that's what Xenoblade 3 did to me. Look, I don't think I have to tell you, but for those who don't know, Xenoblade Chronicles is like my favorite RPG of all time. It's a game I've played multiple times over the year, and every time I do, I find something new about the game that I didn't know before, and it's always made me feel happy. So when Xenoblade 3 was announced, I was, dare to say, excited.
You bastards did it! You did it!
And with every trailer detailing how the game would work and play, the more excited I grew. And then the game came out, and I spent a whole 2 weeks going through the title, and goddamn it, I loved every minute of it. There are so many great moments that make this game shine for me, especially for being the 4th entry into the Xenoblade series, and I think it celebrates that in the best way possible. I think the cast is some of the more fun characters that Xenoblade has had. It's the best of both worlds from both Xenoblade 1 and 2. There's not a single member of the main cast that I don't like. There are obvious favorites like Mio and Taion, especially Uni. Holy shit, what a character with no filter. I absolutely love every minute she's on screen. But there's no one I dislike. I think each cast member gets their own time to shine, whether it be in the small character moments or in grand plot points. The story makes their sudden alliance believable and heartwarming, and speaking of its story, man, I think this might be the best part of the game outside of its combat. While its beginnings may take some time to get things going, the moment the story starts to take the reins, there are no stopping points outside of a few resting spots. I know the big meme is, wait till you get to chapter 5, but there is so much truth behind that statement. But its other points are also very good, and the music that accompanies you throughout your journey, oh sweet God. Each new area you visit is met with those beautiful Yasunori Mitsuda instruments that you've come to love, especially after Xenoblade 2, but the soundtrack manages to make every new song fit perfectly with its setting and its moments, which goes double for the battle themes because holy shit, no one told a man to calm down when composing them. Unrelated, but my favorite track is the Chain Attack theme because even though it's probably like not the best one out there, my poor friend who watched me play through this whole game had to hear me for goddamn hours humming along to the guitar every single time I activated the mechanic. Oh yeah, speaking of, holy shit, this is the best playing Xenoblade game and I don't even think it's up for debate. The party dynamics, the class system, the skills, there is a goddamn roll button, like what? It is so much fun to just sit down and play, and it definitely feels more engaging than the other two main entries in the series. It really feels like they took the best of both Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2, and then they just felt like really frisky and put Xenoblade X mechanics in there because apparently no one ever told people no on this project. Look, I just really love this game, man. I think its whole package is one that I'm not going to forget anytime soon. And I eagerly await that final DLC story whenever it decides to drop. I crave more. There's a lot more than I can say about it, but I think this is the best way to put it. As it stands, Xenoblade Chronicles is still my favorite RPG ever made, but I think Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is the best Xenoblade game out there, and it was easily my game of the year. And that's all for my top 10 games of 2022. This was a lot of fun to do, and I hope I get to do this again next year. Sorry, content has been a bit slow, but I promise I'm back on it now. I'm currently working on the video script for the Star Ocean video now, and I hope to have that out by the mid or let's say the end of March. But take that with a grain of salt. Until then, let me know what your game of the year was in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, and all that. I'll be seeing you soon, I promise.